Welcome to DC Direct. I'm Lionel Donovan. Here in this show, we try to talk about some of the bigger stories, but we want you to weigh in. So follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at TRT World, and use the hashtag DC Direct to be a part of the conversation. In today's show, we'll be talking about Aipac. Aipac, or the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, started off as a pro-Israel grassroots organization in 1951. Since then, the organization has grown in size and influence into what some call one of the most powerful lobbying groups in Washington. But now, that power is being called into question. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar recently came under fire for her provocative comments and tweets on Aipac and other pro-Israel groups, suggesting that support for Israel is fueled by Aipac donations. The backlash was swift, with many calling her statements anti-Semitic, prompting Congress to pass a resolution denouncing hate speech in all its forms. Even Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu referenced the controversy at this year's Aipac conference.
It's not about the Benjamins. The reason the people of America support Israel is not because they want our money. It's because they share our values. They just don't get it.
Despite the backlash, Omar's comments drew attention to a larger debate in U.S. politics. Do groups like Aipac hold too much sway on U.S. policy? Let's talk to Ari Storch to get a better idea of how Aipac operates in Washington.
In spite of the name, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, it's not a political action committee. So it's not a PAC in terms of giving campaign contributions. It doesn't give money. It doesn't have a structure for that. So that's a common misunderstanding and misconception that unfortunately the Congresswoman espoused because of somebody who taught her something improperly. It's just not the reality of how Aipac functions.
Although Aipac as an organization doesn't directly contribute to politicians' campaigns, they are the biggest spenders when it comes to lobbying. Last year, the organization spent over $3.5 million on lobbying, more than the other 4 pro-Israel groups combined. So why do you think Aipac is focusing more on lobbying instead of campaign contributions?
Yeah, I mean, lobbying is purely educational. So what lobbying comes down to is presenting a case and discussing that with a member of Congress or somebody in the administration and trying to make your case. It's no different than the American Heart Association, which has a large lobbying operation in Washington. All of these groups do the same thing. They're trying to educate members of Congress and leaders in the political world about the thoughts and the positions they have. And that's how Aipac does it. Aipac is a symbol, kind of more of the relationship that exists more than it is the cause of why there's a relationship. The U.S. was the first country in the world to recognize Israel, not because there was an Aipac, but because of the shared values. And I think that Aipac will just continue to exist because of that. I don't think the relationship exists because of Aipac.
So if Aipac operates in the same way as any other lobbying group, why is it under so much scrutiny? Professor Ariel Wolsztejn is critical of the organization. Let's hear from him.
The biggest problem I have with Aipac is it is supporting Israel and moving in a trajectory that's very damaging. I mean, as I see it, because of the massive settlement, it's probably impossible now to do a two-state solution. A real Jewish organization would be worried about that. I mean, more and more, I think if you're interested in democracy, you're interested in a binational state. You're not interested in a Jewish state anymore, and Aipac allowed that to happen. And it's sad because, Israel is several things. It's very much sort of an exploitative colonialist state. It's also a place that was a refuge for Jews, and in their push to do whatever Israel wants, they're giving Israel support to do things that I think will ultimately be damaging for everyone concerned.
So what do you think the effects of this will be on Aipac and other pro-Israel groups?
Eventually, I think there's going to be a bigger cleavage between American Jews and a lot of other diaspora Jews and Israel. There has been a more and more energetic, muscular, progressive or left wing of the party in a way that did not exist. And I think, and as people oppose the extreme right-wing direction that the Republican Party has gone into, you really have to do some major acrobatics not to notice how closely tied in he is with Israel.
So where are younger Jewish people in the conversation, and what is their relationship with Aipac? To find out, let's hear from student activist Mattan Berner-Kadish.
Aipac at this point has long lost its bipartisan appeal and is very much on the way to no longer even being able to claim that. Anti-Semitism in this day and age largely comes from the right. It is very much something that we see far more, and especially in violence and in terms of in the United States, it is a right-wing thing. This is something that we're seeing, and when Aipac goes up there and people are clapping for Nikki Haley, and when Donald Trump in 2016 gets a standing ovation, and all these Republicans go up and say, the left needs to deal with Ilhan Omar, the left, and then Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer goes up and talks about both sides. This is not representing the vast majority of American Jewry.
So what kind of message do you think this sends to younger American Jews?
I think young American Jews see the importance of Israel, they see the necessity, but they don't know if this is what they want that to look like. And the fact that right now, Bibi Netanyahu, if he's going to form the government, if he wins in the elections in a few weeks and is going to form the government, is going to include, his government will most likely be forced to include right-wing extremists, like the KKK of Israel, the Kahanist parties. Aipac and American Jews are going to need to decide, where is the line? Where is the point where we say, we support Israel, we care about Israel, this is important to us, but this is not what we are supporting. We can't get behind this anymore. I'm long past that point.
Well, that's all the time we have today in DC Direct, but please be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at TRT World, and use the hashtag DC Direct to let us know what you think about Aipac's influence on U.S. policy. Until next time, I'm Lionel Donovan.